For this part of the video, I want to redirect your attention to snippets of films that, unlike those that are for merely pure entertainment, reflect or feature relevant elements that are central to the Filipino culture and tradition. So, without further ado, here they are.
Hindi ko na alam kung paano ko pa mabubuo ang aking pamilya.
Ano akala niyong ginagawa namin sa mama? Hinuhututan ng kwarta!
Sampit ka lang dito.
Huwag kang aasa kahit kanino. Dahil laban mo itong mag-isa eh.
Magpasalamat kayong dalawa, ganito ako. Naging useful ako sa papa. Lalong-lalo na sa pagpapalago ng negosyo.
Lahat kayo, magkakapatid. Lahat kayo, anak ko. Galing kayong lahat sa puso ko.
The common theme between these local films centers on family dynamics, however, each with a different plot and main focus. So what's being heavily depicted in these films is the great love of an individual to his or her family. So even when the characters experienced heavy conflicts and disputes with the other family members, they eventually chose to set these aside and reconcile, further emphasizing the Filipinos' concept of an ideal family as a united whole. To avoid mix-ups of information, I would like to talk about only one of these films, and my choice will have to be the last briefly shown film, which is Bahay, Kubo, Pinoy, Mano. So it was released in 2007 and directed by Lamangan. So the film centers on Eden, played by Marisol Soriano, who adopted a lot of children in the film because of her adoptive mother's encouragements, saying that children are in fact gracia or blessings, which means that Eden can't reject or neglect them. So among all the movies, I chose this one because it not only gives us insights about family dynamics, but it also presents to us the reality of the material world. The negative effects, which are often concealed and covered up by the shallow beauty of material things, are being emphasized and evidently conveyed in the film. Our misconceptions about these things manipulate and influence us negatively, to the extent that we would both think and act unreasonably or irrationally. I figured that the film Bahay Kubo shows a definite picture of this, since it highlights the shallow or temporary happiness we get from the material aspect of life. This is one of the most hidden or concealed truths of all time, which one fails to or purposely ignore and overlook. So this film doesn't hesitate to show us the unpleasant and undesirable flaws, ultimately exposing the truths and realities which are not usually shown in majority of the films. Moreover, in the film, we get to see how the pressures of money drove the once happy and solid family to break apart. So in the early parts of the film, the family lived in a Bahay Kubo in the province of Bulacan. Despite belonging to the lower class, they were still very happy and contented with what they have. When Perry's business prospered or flourished, he transferred his family to a much modern house in Manila. As the family struggled to survive and adapt to the city life, they began to feel that they don't really belong in that world at all. With all the problems that came their way, they would then realize that they can identify themselves with this new life of theirs. Furthermore, this alludes to what Marx, a German philosopher, called as alienation, or a sense of detachment from something. Alienation is defined as a process whereby something comes to seem foreign and disconnected, or people become foreign to the world they're living in. Notably, we feel alienation when we couldn't exercise the capabilities and abilities of our species being. Our jobs should be something that we can relate to, something with which we can apply our creativity and imagination. However, in the modern setting in which the focus of the people is both to make money and to make much more, people would then have to work in order to keep up and adapt to his or her environment, which means that instead of looking at the job as something that he or she can relate to or identify himself with, it would consequently lead him or her to feel alienated from that job. And moreover, this is one of the specific ways of how the workers are being alienated from their species being, which Marx called as alienation from work. So connecting this to real life situations, if you've noticed, there are a lot of children working to support their families. Some of them are forced and some of them volunteer to do so. This is because the children, in fact, have lesser developed thinking capacities than the older ones, making them easy to be manipulated and influenced by both internal and external forces. Some of the adoptive children try to earn money, but in an unpleasant and inappropriate way. For example, Dahlia almost undresses in front of a photographer. At first, she hesitated, but because of her desire to help her family, she complies with the photographer's wishes, although Eden came just in time to stop her. And there's also JR, who stole a cell phone and was even caught by the police. Moreover, these actions or scenes reflect Marx's idea or concept of alienation from work. So these two didn't really want to do those things, but in order for them to be able to help with the family's financial problems, they forced themselves to do things they never even thought about in the first place, which implies that both Dahlia and JR failed to identify themselves with the work they did or were about to do. Since their inclination to work comes from the mere intention or motivation to acquire money and not for pleasure and interest, then naturally they will feel alienated from it. Overall, the film does indeed reflect a certain philosophy or ideology, particularly about this material and money-obsessed world. As what I've said previously, the film uncovers truths and realities that the media and society often conceal. I encourage you viewers to watch this film because it not only does it let you experience a roller coaster of emotions, but it also influences you to think and question the modern setting. So the film serves as a reminder that the world is becoming more and more practical and industrial, which continues to neglect, exploit, or oppress the people, ultimately exposing the ugly side which one fails to notice or perceive. Not only that, it also features elements of the Filipino culture and tradition, mainly about the family. And as Filipinos, we should, at some point of our lives, redirect our attention to the local films, the informative ones, that is, not those of pure entertainment. You see, diverting our perspective from the Philippine setting to a Western one would surely influence us to feel alienated from our own cultural and national elements, and this would eventually lead us to feel alienated from our very own Filipino identity, which we don't really want to happen, do we? So, anyways, do watch this film. It is definitely worth your time, and I'm certain that you would learn something from it. So that's all for my video. I hope you guys enjoyed listening or watching, and I hope you learned something from this.